Well, g'day guys, Morezy here. Welcome back to Morezy Plays Minecraft, episode 36. And today guys, we're going back to revisit an old project. And we're going to go back over to the iron farm. I've been playing around with a few adaptations and improvements to the Ender-Stasis system. After watching Etho play around with the idea a little bit, it sort of got me interested in it again, and I've been doing some testing recently. You might have seen, if you follow me on Twitter, I've been speaking to Ultimate Redstone, asking his opinion on some of the systems we're using. And I can't remember where we were last time when I was doing this system up here, but I've made a few changes. Where are we? Yeah, made a few changes to the way it's laid out, and so far it's seeming a bit more stable. So one of my main concerns here with the Ender-Stasis system was it was unstable to hold Ender Pearls, even just to hold them. We've tried it many times in the past, and what I seem to have done now is actually made it relatively stable. We're still in the same version that we were when we were testing this last time, but I've done a few little tweaks to the system myself. After some testing, I've decided that this boat wireless system is unreliable. As you can see, I'm not even looking at the trigger, and it is actually activating when it shouldn't every so often. So that's unreliable, so we're going to turn that off for the moment. But another thing I noticed here is that sometimes when you go out of range, you can see I've got an ender pearl here. I've actually been all the way over to spawn, sorry, not to spawn, we're at spawn now. I've been all the way over to the main base and back again, and this ender pearl is still here. Now you can see I've actually changed this from what I had it before. I used to have a clock with the soul sand going up and down. Now we've changed it back to Test's original design. But I've added a few things. So here I've added another piston which updates 2 ticks separate to that piston there, because what I've found is sometimes you might get the occasion where this piston desyncs and it actually is in a bud state but not operating, and by putting a secondary piston next to it I hope to update it if that does happen. So if this stalls, if this stops, this second piston will update it, because I noticed if we were going out of range sometimes it would do that. So now what I want to try is a new wireless system. Now I've also been playing with wireless systems quite a bit for the past couple days, trying to work out why this one was so inconsistent and if I could do any better options. Up until about probably an hour ago, I was working on a system that actually held a boat underwater, and the boat would rise automatically to trigger a switch, and that was proving promising. Still a lot more work to be done on that, until I saw a video posted on the Redstone Reddit by user CX28, if that's how you say it properly. I'll try and put a link to his video down in the description if I remember. His video is based on Static's video from a while back on wireless redstone, and if you haven't seen it, Static used a piston with glass that was pushing up and down a boat. Now since Static made that, must be nearly a year or two ago now, boats have become extremely fragile and they break in this configuration, hence why we've been using a sideways boat. But what we can actually do is use a armor stand instead, and that was a discovery by CX. And other than that, the design is pretty much the same as Static's. I'm going to put a little Morezy spin on it though, so I will be changing it just a little bit to suit my purpose. And in my opinion, it's going to work. I'm going to set this up now, and hopefully we'll have an activated wireless redstone receiver after I'm done. Okay, so I've got a few things together here, and we'll try and make this redstone wireless receiver. So, to begin, I'm going to put, I think, 2 blocks like that. Or do they need to go higher? They might need to go higher. We'll put a piston there, a sticky piston with the glass pane on top. And we're going to put another piston up here. This is going to position our armor stand. So we'll put the armor stand on top here, and we'll put the stone wall on this piston. Should really turn that off, shouldn't I? There we go. Oh, whoops, I forgot about that. Just released the ender pearl, didn't I? Okay, let's jump up there again. I'm getting okay at throwing these things now, after a bit of practice. Okay, so we'll put tripwire hooks. Actually, I might leave them off because I think they might need to be higher. I'm sort of building this as I go here. Let's push the armor stand into an edge position, like so. Good. And that essentially puts it over half of the glass pane, so that when we do the hitbox update, it will drop down. And now I think of it, I think we need this to be that high. Yes. We'll put a tripwire hook on either side and a piece of string if we're lucky. There we go. Piece of string. Can I get around the corner here? Alright. Next we need to put in a comparator clock with a repeater delay. Now I understand the comparator clocks might be a little bit glitchy when you unload chunks and things. Might do it sideways. So I know Ultimate Redstone, he did show me a picture of a clock that he was using for his Ender-Stasis, which seemed to be pretty cool. So if we do have some issues, we might look at using that. But we'll see how this one goes first. Okay, cool. Now, currently, that is not how I want it to be. Because are we getting some signal at the moment? I think we might be. Yeah, so that is actually running some signal right now. I think it needs to be a little bit faster actually. Interesting. Okay, that's interesting. When we looked at this, it did actually... Is that running at the moment? Yep, it's still running. See, that is weird, isn't it? And now it seems to be... Yeah, that is weird. Okay. Let me do some more investigation here. Alright guys, so after further testing I'm still not completely sold on this armor stand actually, but I've made this torch tower to reactivate the system. It's all basic at the moment. We'll of course make this look better if we can get it to work the way we want it. Let's do a quick test. I haven't got any ender pearls up there yet because I'm running quite low at the moment. But if we pretend we were going to activate it by using the system here, and that will actually stop that. You can see the redstone blocks up there aren't moving anymore, and you can see this piston sticking out, so that's the way I activate them. I've got a piston at the bottom here and a piston right at the top because they're stuck in a bud state. So if we power them, there we go, it starts back up, and it doesn't matter if it's the top or the bottom that's in a bud state, that'll work for both. So the next thing to do is to throw up a ender pearl, and hopefully we get a good result. So throw an ender pearl up, good, it's a nice catch, and let's take a walk. Now previously, if you may remember, when we did this, as soon as I got a little bit further away, almost across the river here, the ender pearl would drop and the system would break. So we're completely relying on the armor stand wireless system at the moment. And the other thing, of course, is I've got my render distance on 32 chunks now, so I don't know if that will affect it, because in my testing in my test worlds, it seemed as though when you load chunks outside of your normal area, that's when the wireless boat system seemed to fail. So far so good, that's interesting. Very interesting. And we're getting further than I would have thought. Let's see if we can get all the way to the main base. Okay, so just as I was about to get close to the main base, this did fail. So it seems as though the armor stand system failed, and perhaps it's because of the glass panes. I know that the video that that the other guy made, he used the iron bars instead. So if this doesn't work again, I might have to try and use the iron bars and see if that affects it at all. Alright, another ender pearl, that's my last one so far, and we'll give this another try. Well, once again, I got almost to the base and the ender pearl dropped, so there's still some issues here that I need to work out. I might need to use a decoder system, maybe having one of these guys operate at any one time is not enough. So we'll have to do some more research on that. So Ender-Stasis is still off the table at the moment. Well, at least when it's included with wireless redstone. See, before I put the wireless redstone receiver in there, we did have an ender pearl stuck in there for quite a while. But it was worth a try. I will continue with my testing and hopefully we can get a result out of it soon. Okay guys, here we are. We're a few hours later, actually a couple days later. Been doing more tests, and I've watched tests video again and a few others as well. And we've got an ender pearl that's suspended in the system right now, and it's working so far. So far is working. Now, I did test this just before, but I realized this is sort of directional, which makes sense, of course. But what we've got now is, instead of using glass, I'm using iron bars. Now, the reason I did that is because I think I've got so many glass panes here already that are being used. I feel like maybe they're interfering a little bit. I don't know what the range is when you look at a hitbox on a glass pane, but maybe that was what was causing the inconsistencies there. So the ender pearl should be running over there at the moment, and this will be the final test to see if this actually works. And as I said, I've done a lot of testing, so hopefully when we step on here, this will teleport us back. Yeah, we did it. It worked. We'll reset the system. So that started again. We'll throw another ender pearl up. Awesome, ender pearl is staying put. And yeah, the beauty about these little systems is it does reset. So if we now, I think we can actually go through the nether portal, and as long as we're not in the nether for more than 60 seconds, I believe, we'll be able to keep the ender pearl suspended. So let's do that, and we'll try this just a second time, just to be sure. Okay. All right, let's go through. Let's quickly run over to the... I haven't actually done a nether test yet, so this will be interesting. If we run over to the portal and go back to the main base. Here we go. Up and over. Okay. Let's try this out now. And it'll be interesting to see if we get teleported instantly, which I'm hoping we don't. Looks okay so far. Yep. So far so good. And a little system reset here, which is good. Let's try it again. Awesome. That is awesome. Alright, I'd call that a successful test. So, let's go and take a quick little look again. Make sure everything's running properly up there. Oh, missed. Uh-oh. I'm still not quite as good as I need to be here. There we go. That's better. Yeah, so there we go. So, that is cool. It does work. Happy days. I'm pretty happy about that. I've been trying this. Everyone should know I've been trying this for a long time. And I'm just glad now it actually works. So, the next thing, which I might actually do this episode, is try and put in a second one of these in a little bit more remote location. And to do that, we're going to have to go into remote chunk loading. And this was touched on in Test's video as well. And for those of you that know Test's videos, he doesn't actually talk. So some of the things are left for a little bit of investigating to see how they actually work. I think I've got the plan down, and we're going to be using some remote chunk loaders, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to get set up here, and we'll see you in just a bit. Alright guys, so step 1 of this process is going to be to locate 0, 0. So at the moment we're very close, and if we run around a little bit, which way are we going? This way? Yes. Okay, very close to 0. Okay, that's 0. And 0 this way would be around this little bit here. There we are. So that there should be 0, 0. Very cool. This point is very important, and hopefully it's within a good distance of my spawn chunks there. This is where we're going to enable remote chunk loading, and there's a little trick that you can see in Test's video that makes this possible. So next thing is I'm going to outline some chunk borders, and you might remember a while ago I started doing that over here, and I think we decided it was going to be what, 8? Was it 8 chunks in that direction? But yeah, we'll keep doing some chunk borders here, and we'll make our way over to 0, 0. Alright guys, so short little time later here. This is where we discovered 0, 0 was. This is the X and Y and Z 0, 0. So this is the absolute center of the whole world, and from there we've gone out by chunks at a time, and each of these little cobblestone pillars marks out 0, 0 of another chunk. So we're talking the chunk borders now, not X, Y, Z. But yeah, 0, 0. Okay, so chunk 0, 0. Now these are where we need to load all these chunks. Now in order for this remote chunk loading to work, this chunk that contains the X, Y, Z coordinate of 0, 0 needs to be loaded. And it needs to be loaded just like the spawn chunks, where entities and redstone will function. So in order to do that, we have to actually load a 5x5 chunk area. So if we do a demonstration here, imagine this piece of sand is the chunk that our XYZ00 is in. Now in order to make this a spawn chunk, well, that is a chunk that processes redstone and entities, we need to surround it by a 2 wide border of more loaded chunks, like so. Now when Minecraft sees this configuration with 2 wide chunks here, a third one in the middle, and then 2 ones on either side, it creates this as a spawn chunk. It renders this as a spawn chunk. So in order to make this function the way we want, we have to load all the chunks around here that I've marked out. And to do that, we're going to use the old hopper trick. So here again is 0, 0 of a chunk. If we look at our F3, 0, 0 of a chunk. We want to load, now this is actually inside the spawn chunks at the moment. This is actually a spawn chunk. So we want to make sure that these are loaded. So this one is, where are we? That's a spawn chunk. Now as we go outside, this is actually a lazy chunk, so that means it's sort of loaded but it's sort of not. But we can use this to create a 5x5 load in this area. So all we're going to do here is, this is a lazy chunk. That would make this one a lazy chunk. And so we're actually going to run our loaders from all these little pillars. And all you need to do that is have a hopper which faces into an unloaded chunk. And like so. So if we go here, so at the moment we're at 0, 0 in a chunk, and if we step to the side, you can see now we're at 15, 0, and that means this is a brand new chunk. So we have a hopper, and it's facing into this chunk, and we'll put an item inside, like that, and that will be enough to keep this chunk here loaded. So what it's doing is the hopper is looking for something here to put that item into, therefore that loads this chunk. So we're going to do those at all the intersections here, and hopefully that will result in this center chunk becoming a spawn chunk. Okay guys, another step along. I've put hoppers in all their positions and they've all got an item inside, which should hopefully, providing I haven't missed any, load that central chunk right there. Now just to check that this is functioning the way it should, what I'm going to do here is go out to the border of what should be the loaded chunks, which should be this one. I believe this one will be loaded, and the one past that column won't be. So what I'm going to do is throw down a few items, just like this, and those items are going to just sit there for a moment while I run away in the other direction. And we'll let 5 minutes pass, and then we'll try our best to get back here as quickly as possible. And hopefully what will happen is, if these chunks are set up correctly, the items that fell into this area will be gone, and the ones that fell outside the loaded area will be still there. The idea there is, of course, when we leave this area, any chunks that need to unload will unload. The items that were on the ground will also unload, and the ones that are inside the loaded area will continue to run their despawn timer, where eventually they'll disappear. So that will be the test to see whether we've done all that we need to do here and are ready for the next stage. So let's do this now. I'm going to run probably just a small line here, so let's just do a couple lines of cobble. And we'll go over into the next chunk, like so. Then we'll run down and get out of here. We'll let 5 minutes pass, and then we'll come back and see how we go. Alright, moment of truth. We're here in the nether. Approximately 5 minutes or more have passed. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go through here. This is the portal to the iron farm. Once we get through, we're going to instantly try and jump up to where we were before, and hopefully we'll see a few items on the ground in some unloaded chunks, and then that would be it. Alright, let's try this out. Alright, let's go, go, go. Oh, I need to get out of here really quickly, just to make sure that we don't cause any other issues. If this works, there will be some very cool things happening very soon. Okay, let's do the ender pearl thing. Okay, so hopefully we'll see, up here a bit further, we'll see no thrown cobblestone inside the spawn chunks, with a couple extra bits left over outside the spawn chunks. Right, well they're all inside, aren't they? So that tells me all of these chunks were unloaded, which is not what we wanted. So I must have to do some more work here yet. Okay, so after doing that little test, I realized there was a few problems with it. The first one is that I think the lazy chunks will unload and keep those entities unloaded. So if my calculations were right, all those chunks that I threw those little bits into were all lazy chunks. But I went ahead and tested it again, trying to use the spawn chunk that we created where 00 was, and that still didn't work. So there's still a few issues that I have to go over to fix that. But what I'm going to try now is, we've got another ender pearl in the system, and I'm going to go and try if we can do a really long distance teleport. Okay guys, so I've made my way through the nether, hopefully quickly enough, and we're here at the horse farm, and I've just paused here just in case there's something wrong with my system and I get teleported immediately. We haven't been out here for quite some time, and if we look at the coordinates, we're a bit over, well, a couple of thousand blocks away at least. So if this works, then I'll be very happy. We can make a fast way to travel here. Yeah, I haven't actually been here for quite some time. So we've still got all these guys that are all being tested. I might even look at taking one home, maybe. But looks like we haven't teleported so far, so that is good. So what I want to do now is build one of the dial home receivers, well, transmitters really, and we'll see if the ender pearl has stayed where it was supposed to. So let's put down the piston, and we'll put down the block, and then we'll go redstone underneath like so. We'll put another couple blocks on top here, and then we'll put a pressure plate. Pressure plate will go here, there we go. And I think I need to be facing east. So let's do that one. Cross your fingers. Oh wow, it worked. Yeah, that worked. Awesome. So that actually does function. We didn't get teleported instantly when we came out of the portal, so that's a good thing. So now all we need to do is get this remote chunk loader working, and we can put one of these things over at the horse farm. Well, that was possibly a boring episode for some. It was exciting for me because we found out how to make this thing work, and that it does work and it can work. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that part of it. But if you didn't, stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see if we can do something a little bit different. But once again, thanks for watching, and we will see you again next time.